And there's your town hall. So that's Jedra behind us, next stop Gavarnie. So when we get to Gavarnie, you'll be able to walk. You'll be able to walk towards the mountains. Just walk a little bit out of the village, a few 100 meters, 100 yards. So Gavarnie, yeah, we're able to walk through the village just so you get better views. Once you're away from the buildings, you get a unobstructed view of the mountains in front of you. It's called the Cirque de Gavarnie, and the cirque just means a semicircular, spectacular mountain formation. So when we get there, I'll come with you, I'll show you where to walk, just follow the river, going towards the mountains, to get photos, just to appreciate the site. And there's a little church as well. So those of you who wish to visit the church, I'll take you there. So when we get to the village, we'll look at the time together and decide what time we need to be back at the bus. We've still got to go up a little bit further, so I'm hoping that this last bit of cloud will be lifting. Let's see. There are lots of little shops, you know, it's very popular tourist destination. It's not that far from Lourdes, so it's popular for excursions like we're doing as well. It's for the sporty people, it's actually quite a popular destination. It's like the centre of a lot of the mountain activities. It's got a ski resort, popular with climbing, walking, and you're very close to Spain. When we get to the village of Gavarnie and we look up at the high mountains around us, on the other side, at the top of those mountains, and on the other side is Spain. So we're a stone's throw from Spain. So if you go back to pilgrim routes, the St James's Way, the Camino, going to Compostela, Santiago of Compostela, back in the Middle Ages, the popular way to go would have been this area through here. And the little church in Gavarnie, the original part of that church was built, there's a statue in there, I think 14th century, and it was built to look after there was a hospital next door to look after the pilgrims on the way to Spain, either on the way there or those coming back. But you know, it's not the easiest place to cross the mountains, so as time went on, people found easier routes, easier ways to get over the mountains into Spain. And of course, nowadays, and for a long time, you go west towards the coast, where the mountains taper down to the sea level, and go across into Spain, and then the west coast. But some of these ancient the old walking routes have been revived in recent years, because you know it brings tourists, it brings people. So we'll see by the church, the symbol for the St James's Way walking route, telling you how many kilometres it is. So pilgrims will still come through this area. Just straight on. So back to the village of Gavarnie. We can walk down by the river to get a good view of the mountains. We can look at the little village church. Lots of shops and cafes. And I'm hoping that the clouds will have given way enough so we can see. It's a fairly spectacular waterfall. It depends on the year just how much water is up there, but we should be able to see it. There's a big waterfall, one of the longest and highest in Europe, on the rock face in front of us. And this waterfall, in a normal winter, the temperatures are normally cold. The waterfall freezes, so it attracts ice climbers from all over the world, all over Europe, to come and climb up this frozen waterfall. Now, of course, these mountain activities are not without their risks, and there are sometimes problems in the mountains, and the mountain rescue police for this area have their base in the village of Gavany. So depending on how far you walk, you may walk past their centre, and there's usually a helicopter or two sat outside. The other thing is, because of the high mountains and the passage into Spain, traditionally the profession of mountain guide was developed very early on in these villages, particularly here. So the locals who knew the passages, the way across the mountains like the back of the hand, certainly from the middle of the 1800s onwards, the rich, the aristocrats came to explore the mountains, and they would use a local to show them where to go. So a lot of the families in this area have mountain guides in their ancestors' tradition that continues. And at the church, of course, is a cemetery, and in the area, there's one area dedicated to the mountain guides, amongst others, who lost their life in the mountains. So the tradition of mountain guides is very strong here. And the other thing that happened during the Second World War, when France was occupied, people had to get out of France into relative safety of Spain, and it was the locals in Gavany, amongst other villages, that helped them over the mountains, the passes. Just where we are now, there's little lights and there's warnings. There's an area of instability up the mountain on the left of us, and everything's under control now because they've got detectors detecting any movement of rocks. But there has been, many hundreds of years ago, quite a massive earthquake when huge parts of the mountain came down, and in a moment we get to see, have I missed it? I don't think so. You can see great big rocks down below rocks the size of houses that were once upon a time up there. So now as everything's well controlled, any sign of instability, and the road is closed. Coming up to them is one or two at the side of the road as we go past. So here on the left and the right, two examples as to the size of the stones that came down. From time to time in this area we do have problems with the road being blocked in winter, either from snow or from snow coming down, and when that happens, the people at Gavany, blocked on the other side, just have to be patient and someone will come and help them eventually. So Gavin is the end of the valley. That's it. When we get to the village, you can appreciate you're very close to the mountains, high mountains, and on the other side is Spain. You can just start to get a glimpse of the tops. There's a bit of snow left. In a normal winter and a normal summer when you've had a decent snowfall in winter and summer hasn't been too hot, you'll have snow patches left visibly on the mountains. The glacier, there are glaciers, but like glaciers all over the world, in recent years they have been shrinking. So we start to get a glimpse from here of the high mountains of Gavany, the Cirque. You often see photos of this area in airports or elsewhere. It's like one of the, the big publicity, one of the most important tourist sites in the area. So we can see the tops, and on the other side is Spain. There are a lot of high mountain lakes up there, and one of them particularly just sits on the border. And every year the Spanish farmers bring their cows up in this case, and the French bring their sheep and cows up from this side. And because the lake sits on the border, it's like they have this party sort of thing, a massive celebration. Take the animals up where they spend, and they go back down and the animals stay up there, but they decorate the cows, all the horns, they put ribbons and hats on them, and the shepherds and farmers have a massive party. A lot of red wine is involved. So here's the river still down on the right. So the source of the river, that same river that runs in front of the grotto in Lourdes, the source then is up above the waterfall we see in these mountains, we'll see in a moment in front of us. The river joins with 2 or 3 of the valleys lower down, but the originals, the source of it comes from here. Just want that last bit of cloud to move. So with Sue, we're just discussing what time to set back off, go back to Lourdes. We'll be in the village before 4 o'clock off the coach. So we said we're going to set off at 5:15. 5:15. 5:15. Back at the coach, please, or back a little bit earlier, say 5:10. Back at the coach, so we can actually leave at 5:15. That will give you plenty of time to explore the village, have a cup of tea, go for a walk, come to the church, have a look at that when we get off the coach. If you just want to spend a moment or two, and I'll indicate where to go to walk by the river towards the mountains, just to get, even if you don't want to walk very far, just a few 100 yards out of the village to get a much better view of the mountains. There are cafes and places to sit along the side of the river as you're walking out. And the church is just up above the village on the right as we go in. If you wanted to visit that first or afterwards, I will go with you. But just to repeat, when we get off the coach, we'll first of all make sure everybody knows where we parked, give you a landmark, and you need to be back at the bus at 5:10 so that we can leave at 5:15, please. Well, I think we look to be lucky with the weather. It doesn't look like it's going to be raining. It looks nice and sunny, and with a bit of luck this cloud will move sufficiently so you get a really good view of where you are. Got good eyes, you can see on the little hill on the right there's a statue, a white statue, Our Lady of the Snow, and the locals put the statue of Our Lady up there to ask for protection to protect the village against the winter conditions, which can be very, very extreme here. So we're now at about 4,500 feet.
There, in between, you see? Have you seen it?
What?
The statue there.